Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Governor Kathy Hochul. This is an international response. Delighted to welcome our friends from Quebec who've come down to lend a helping hand. This is an extraordinary circumstance, particularly this time of year, and we'll give you much more detail when I have a chance to introduce the people who have been on the ground since the first lightning strike on Saturday, and you'll hear much more about what we're dealing with in a matter of minutes. To County Executive Pat Ryan. All I can say is, what's with your county, Mr. County Executive? I swear I spent every winter weekend here with the two of us dealing with the ice storm, the power outages, the tree limbs down, and every Saturday I woke up, my husband said, let me guess, you're going back to Ulster County. But you have an extraordinary team. Obviously, they're very experienced in disaster management and crisis management, as are you. So thank you to Pat Ryan, who you'll be hearing from momentarily. Jackie Bray, the Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, again, another superhero who's been dealing with everything over this last year, from Ida 1 year ago, a hurricane I'll be mentioning in a couple minutes, to the ice storms, to dealing with the COVID response, the Omicron response, everything that's requires a steady hand and an experienced individual, and that is our Commissioner Jackie Bray, so thank you for being with us again. Basil Sagos has been around the block a few times. He's seen it all. He's a true friend to the state. His extraordinary career of public service, but we are so blessed to have him as the Commissioner of DEC and has been really running operations here on the ground for us since the inception. Eric Kulisade, Commissioner of our parks. It's heartbreaking for him to see what's happening in his beloved state parks. So the loss of every single tree is a loss of a life. Part of the identity of this beautiful part of our state. And so I know this is hard for you and your team, but they're extraordinary. They're committed individuals, and I want to thank him as well. Robbie Minkus is here, the incident commander of the New York State Forest Rangers, has joined us, and thank you for being on the ground, Robbie, for this entire process. It's not what anybody expected. People may have had a lot of plans toward heading into the holiday weekend disrupted, but you're all here. You're here because your state needs you, and we are grateful for that service. And Jim Cable, the state fire administrator, again, to you and your team, I'm grateful for everyone who's here as we're continuing to track a fire that has been burning in Winnemucca State Park Preserve. We're going to give an update. The range of the fire vacillates. I flew over Monday as I was heading down to the city. I took a detour. At that time, it was 75 acres on Monday. It's gone up as high as 270. Scales back, goes up, and so you'll get more description on the life of a fire, but that's what's going on. But clearly the fire has been moving quickly. The Tuesday night's rainstorm was somewhat helpful. We appreciated that, Mother Nature, but we need some more. These are extremely dry times, and as we talk about, this is very rare. This is a rarity, because normally we have the dryness, the dry conditions that are very challenging. That usually happens much earlier in the summer. So to have this going on this time of year is another one of those signs out there that this is not normal. On the other hand, we ask ourselves, what is normal anymore in this era of dramatic climate change events that have been consuming us for years now, but particularly with a heightened intensity given just even what we've endured over the last year. So the reality is we've got about 20% of the fire contained. It's difficult because of the tough terrain, the steepness of where it is. We have a map here. I can show you what I know. Don't have a microphone to go over there, but this red part is where the fire is right now. What we're building here are called dozer lines, right?
Right, fire breaks.
Fire breaks. You take a bulldozer, and thank you to our other agencies, I'll get to them in a second, and you build a 14-foot swath here to stop the fire from spreading. And that's what we're trying to do. We want to actually encompass this ultimately. Where we have some real challenges, and this black here these are steep cliffs, these are ridges. So it's very challenging for the men and women on the ground to traverse those in normal vehicles, bulldozers. So this literally, these dots here, this is done by hand. This is over 150 people on the ground cutting through the trees by hand. It's dangerous work, it's grueling work, and that's what they have to do because of the steepness of the terrain here, but another dozer line, bulldozer line. And so the strategy is to encompass circulate this with a wall, so they cannot spread to our more vulnerable areas here, such as Ellenville and where the prison is. We don't expect that to happen, but this is why we're taking these steps at this time. So to contain this, again, the DEC predicts that ultimately it will burn itself out. It may take a week, it may take 2 weeks, but we don't expect it to be able to threaten any life or structures, but we take it very seriously. And since it began, there's been an incredibly coordinated effort. I want to thank, and I know the county executive will thank all the individuals from Ulster County who've been on the ground, our sheriffs, our first responders, he'll acknowledge them, but I also want to thank the National Guard, State Police, Parks Department, our Homeland Security, Emergency Services, DEC, DOT, Thruway, Canals, and other agencies that have really stepped up. And we've activated the Fire Operations Center. We have all the local fire companies. God bless you. Thank you for the volunteers who step forth on days like this, weeks like this. So we have over 200 personnel, as I mentioned, battling the blaze. And I want to mention the fire companies from Ulster, Dutchess, Greene counties, as well as the New York State Forest Rangers and the National Guard. And again, a special welcome to our guests from Quebec, 20 experienced Canadian firefighters, and I just want to acknowledge their presence here today, wearing the beautiful red. So thank you, thank you. So now, they got here, they're heading right up, and a special thank you. Also, our state police, how are we dealing with this? Where's the water come from? I flew overhead just a few minutes ago and had a chance to see the helicopters that we deployed, 2 from the state police, also 2 Army National Guard's Black Hawk helicopters with incredible capacity. They've dropped over 500 buckets of water. Now, to all of us, a bucket of water sounds like not a lot, bucket of water, except it's 300 gallons per bucket for the National State Police, and if it's for the Black Hawk helicopters, it's 600 gallons per bucket. So now you can see the scale of what we're talking about, over 24,000, nearly 25,000 buckets of water dropped so far. So I want to acknowledge that this is something we're not as experienced with, like they are out west. It's expansive, it's destructive, and we're taking it very, very seriously. And I'm going to say, I do believe that this is a result of climate change. You go through all these years seeing this happen out west, and this extreme weather out west, but places like New York would watch from a distance. We sent people. We were always the ones sending help to those places. And now we're in a situation where the state of New York is calling on for help from others. Again, even as far away as Quebec. So these are extremely dry conditions. We know it was a lightning strike, but I just came from an event in Queens. We had more hurricanes in the state of New York last year than all of Florida. That's extreme. That's climate change. That's what we're dealing with right now. And I've said before, we are the first generation to feel the effects of mankind's assault on Mother Nature for decades, the effects of climate change, but we're really the last generation that can do anything about it, the last generation that can do anything. And that's how serious we're taking this in the state of New York. So again, coming up from Queens, talking to victims of a flood that ravaged city streets, took the lives of 16 New Yorkers, 11 from the borough of Queens alone. People flooded in their homes, their basement apartments. We honored today the lives of those individuals. We also honored those who stepped up, the ordinary New Yorkers who were there doing everything they can to save lives, break through windows, pull someone out of floodwaters in their basement apartment where the water got up to the ceiling. So whether it's hurricanes, floods, blizzards, it wasn't that long ago. We had 7 feet of snow over 3 days in Buffalo. I had to deal with that. And of course, today it's wildfires. So the point is we have to be ready. We have to expect the unexpected, because the unexpected has now become the norm. That is our reality. That is our reality. And anyone who denies that, just come to New York. Let me show you how our state has changed so dramatically. Ask the farmers how different it is for them with their crops. Ask anyone in the tourism industry, places up on Lake Ontario that had a 100-year flood in 2017 and another 100-year flood in 2019. I made the observation, doesn't someone owe us 98 years in between these? So the 500-year event we had in New York City, the 100-year events we're seeing upstate with flooding in our Great Lakes all the way to our rivers and valleys here in the Catskills. This is the role we're dealing with. It's harsh. It's not what we want to be dealing with, but we're ready. We have to be ready. And so before I hand things over, I do just want to say again, we'll continue to keep the public updated. It's important. It's part of our responsibility. At this time, there is no threat to structures. There was one hunting cabin way up at the top, and we saved it. So there has been no loss of actual structures. Lives are not threatened at this time. We are pretty certain that we'll be able to contain it so that does not occur. But these are anxious times if you're living down in a place like Gallenville or the nearby communities, because you just don't know. You don't know whether the westerly winds are going to shift and become northerly. So there are things still out of our control. That is why we're going to be vigilant. We're not going to stop our presence here, making sure we have all the resources and the man and woman power necessary to contain this fire and to be ready for the next major climate-driven event. And with that, let me introduce someone who's had more experience in dealing with this at the county level than anyone in the state of New York, and that is our county executive, SUNY member of Congress, Pat Ryan.
Thank you very much, Governor. As the governor said, she has been here through now ice storms, tornadoes, wildfires, and that's all been in basically a one-year time period here in Ulster County. And I grew up hiking and running an awful lot of miles in Minnewaska State Park as a scrawny cross-country runner from Kingston High School. And so this park really means a lot to me, and it means a lot to a lot of people in this community who have spent so many hours of their lives and brought their kids and brought their parents and their families. And not only is it scary to see a significant wildfire on the scale of what we usually see on TV in other parts of our state or other parts of the world, but it's really sad. I mean, it's really sad that we have to marshal this kind of response. But I want to focus on the positive. I agree with the governor that we have to be ready for more. We are ready for more, and I will be very brief. The main message from me is thank you. You know, looking around this room at the men and women who are covered in soot and dirt and sweat and probably some blood, we just want to really thank you for everything that you've done, coming from 5 different counties and neighboring counties, coming from dozens of other surrounding fire companies throughout Ulster County. If you drove in Berm Road, you saw all these different fire companies camped out, coming to aid, coming together, coming to support each other and have each other's back. So I just want to thank everybody that's been a part of that. I want to thank, there's still almost 200 people right now on extremely steep slopes that are very dangerous just to even be on. Forget about the fact that there's wildfires blazing and that have been at this now for multiple days in extremely hot and extremely dangerous conditions. So on behalf of the 180,000 residents of our county, just thank you for having our backs. Thank you for supporting us through another storm. I just want to close with a cool moment that I've observed, a powerful moment that I've observed, not just from the immediate firefighters and first responders and National Guardsmen and women and our friends from Canada, which is awesome and appreciated to have you all here. But there has been a sea of goodwill and support and love and community coming to this site from Ellenville, from the county, from the state, to the point that there are, I was just told earlier, there are so many bottles of water and meals and snacks and letters that have been delivered that they literally had to say, okay, we're good. We actually don't need any more meals. But every single day, the Ladies Auxiliary from Napanock and other fire departments here have been preparing 500 meals every single day, bottles of water, and most importantly, just that morale and that positivity that they're bringing as people come down exhausted. So I'm really sad and concerned that we have had so many really horrific natural disasters in the last year here in our county, but I'm even more proud of how we've responded, how we've come together, how we've supported each other. And again, the governor and herself personally and the state and all of these incredible resources have been there for us every single time. I don't know what it's like in other states, but I can't imagine it's this good. So we're very fortunate to have all of your support. And again, just thank everyone. I'm going to introduce another great leader, a fellow veteran who's been on the ground from the very beginning, ably running our DEC, but also bringing to bear the great firefighting experts of his agency. So it's my honor to introduce Commissioner Basil Sagos, and thank you for the hat as well, Commissioner. I got some DEC swag that I'm pretty excited about, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. And really to Governor Hochul, amazing to see you always on the front lines, but you and your team and Jackie and everybody up here with us, you provided every single resource we needed from the get-go on this. And frankly, we'd be dealing with a much different situation right now had we not deployed the resources that you did right off the bat. So we're thrilled to be able to talk about some progress that we've made and some of the bodies that we have out now in the field and the work that's been done thus far. Again, as the governor mentioned, I won't go through all of the stats on here, but this fire has fluctuated in size. It was 75 acres as the governor first saw, then it grew to 270, and now 160 or so, and maybe climbing back up because of this weather. And that's really what we can expect from this fire over the course of the next few days. We have an extraordinary team in the field who's helping to lead some of this. Ranger Director John Solon, Robbie Mikas, the incident commander. She took me up today. I got a little dirty, which is great. Get out of the office, get dirty, and seeing some of that firsthand, as well as Lieutenant Kevin Slade from our Rangers. These folks, as Governor mentioned, we're usually sending them out west this time of year, right, to fight these million-acre fires. And we can do that because there are usually no fires here in New York. This is an extraordinarily dry year. You've all felt the heat. You see the arid climate now that we're in, and that has really given rise to these conditions that are frankly dangerous. This mountainside, Minnewaska State Park, in the high ground behind us, is actually a fire-prone environment by its evolution. Fires actually can help to spread the vegetation over time by allowing these trees to grow. It's a different situation, though, when you have villages in the valleys. And that's how New York has come to view our experience out west and how to handle fires out west and how to apply it here where you have actual communities. And so this fire over the course of the last few days has increased in size. The 2 inches of rain that we got, luckily, was about 3 times the amount that we expected. That gave us some time to catch up, cut these wide lines with bulldozers and by hand. And that's enabled our teams to get some space around the flames and around the fire. You see now that the flames are not visible from the road. Later today, we expect that to be the case as the sun then creates a more direct line on the valley and that floor heats back up. As I walked through this morning with Robbie, the ground is smoking in many places. It's black. There are many trees that have been lost. And our people are right now right behind us cutting these lines in order to protect the valley from any potential expansion. So the weather conditions are not favorable. Unfortunately, we're seeing the likelihood of continued dry conditions, low humidity over the next few days. That's really, and the wind, of course, that's what makes this a potentially dangerous situation. And that's really why the governor has brought us all here to make sure that we're hitting this as quickly and as hard as possible to keep this from becoming something very, very significant. But we don't do it alone. The governor mentioned the resources that we have here, and it's incredible to watch these men and women in the field doing their incredible work, whether it's county executives, men and women, whether it's state parks, state police with the 2 Hueys that they have up there doing drops. Had a chance to see some of those drops very up close today. And it is something else to behold when you have a spotter, ranger spotter, and two pilots up there dropping the water on the flames and keeping it all under control. But really a tremendous outpouring of support. The county executive has been a great friend over the years, and certainly continue this partnership over the next few days until he leaves office and we take up with, unfortunately, the next person who'll be dealing with Ulster's natural issues. But again, Governor, thank you for giving us everything we've asked for. Jackie, especially to Jackie Bray, who's helped to really push this thing forward for all of us. But I think with that, Governor, we'll take questions.
I'd like to ask Commissioner Parks to talk about just our operations, what we're doing in the parks and closures, et cetera, just so everybody, the public's aware.
Thank you, Governor. And I think as Parks, that is our landscape, obviously, actually, landscape we share with DEC. There's a DEC parcel up there. We're grateful to everyone who's coming to help our park and help fight the fire in this park and contain it. I think I will just say that, just so people should know that the park, I hate to say this as Parks Commissioner, but this upcoming weekend the park will be closed to the weekend because our park staff are not only to the dangerous conditions up there, we have recreational trails up there, just up this slope, but also our staff are all really totally preoccupied with the fire. So anyway, I just encourage people to find other parks. There are great parks in the system. There's parks all over the place around here, so go find a new adventure in our parks. And I do just want to do a special thank out to Eric Humphrey, park manager, and our staff in here, who this is their home. They're fighting to protect their home, and thank you for your great work. Thank you, Governor.